What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTP Sports, and still ravaging in the Super Bowl victory for your Philadelphia Eagles. Basically, over the past week and a half, just, passing through Friday's parade, which was a very, very, very fun time. I tried to get video footage for you guys, but just, I just wasn't a fan of it. I just wasn't a fan of the footage that I took, so I just, it is what it is. You can't really force anything out there if you don't think it looks good, so, it is what it is at the end of the day. But getting back into more Eagles talk at the beginning of the week here, because I still think it's warranted, obviously. But talked about Nick Sirianni the other day last week. I think now is rightfully the time to talk about your quarterback, Jalen Hurts, and showing him a lot of love, showing him a lot of appreciation, and just giving him the respect that he does deserve, even though obviously with the way that the national media goes and the way Twitter goes, he's still getting disrespected. I feel like Jalen Hurts winning a Super Bowl has turned the entire landscape of social media into a trench war, because I just don't think people can handle the quarterback that everybody hates for some reason winning a Super Bowl. So they all got to find ways to find information, to constantly trash him, to constantly cope about the fact that Jalen Hurts won a Super Bowl, and the fact that Jalen Hurts won a Super Bowl before some other great quarterbacks in this league, and which probably proves that Jalen Hurts is probably a better quarterback than most of the QBs in this league, which is insanely hilarious how many people are outraged at that fact, and we're definitely going to get into a little bit as we continue on in today's show, but it's funny. It is so funny how people are still trying to go back and forth with this whole Jalen Hurts discussion on trying to prove that he's not as good as a quarterback as everybody thinks. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy, but before we get into the rest of everything here today, folks, welcome back to TTP Sports. If you are new to the channel, I definitely recommend you hitting that subscribe button. Does me a great deal of service. You also can leave a like, drop a comment as well. I love interacting with you guys down in the comments section. You can also use the code TTP Sports, $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. It is a great deal. Do not pass it up. You can use it for anything that you can think of, concerts, sporting events. Use it for Flyers, use it for Sixers. Hey, spring training is coming up for baseball, and the baseball season is basically almost here, and it's really weird saying that at this point. But yeah, you can use it for Phillies games down in Clearwater, Phillies games here at the bank. Great deal. Don't pass it up. You can also leave a follow over at TTP Sports on Twitter, not Twitter, on TikTok and Instagram. By Twitter is Amadeo Gracia 98. So it's just my personal Twitter account there. Don't have a TTP Sports Twitter, but you could follow TikTok and Instagram for real shorts and all that great stuff. Oh, man. So getting into the business for today, like I said in the open, it's showing Jalen Hurts a lot of love and appreciation. And, a lot of the the inspiration for this type of video, I was listening to Brodes over on WIP middays yesterday, taking over for the midday show from 2 to 6 there on WIP. And it was basically just an entirety of a show of Jalen Hurts' love and appreciation. And I think that is very warranted. And we're definitely going to be going over a lot of the things here to give Jalen Hurts a lot of the respect that he does deserve, because he deserves so much respect, because he has been getting way too much hate basically over the course of this entire season. And yes, there are things that are warranted when it comes to criticizing Jalen Hurts, and obviously things at the beginning of the season, especially continuing off of last year's collapse, criticisms were very warranted for every single party in that Eagles locker room when it came to quarterback play, when it came to coaching, when it came to front office, when it basically became everything, because, you don't collapse like that from a 10-1 start and then just magically fix everything. But this Eagles team kind of did magically fix everything after a bye week, so it's kind of weird in that fact. But yeah, criticisms were definitely warranted. And obviously, I expressed my share of criticisms about the quarterback and the way that he was playing to start the year. And a lot of that was carrying over from the way that the performance was from last season, which, like I said, it is very warranted there. But it wasn't from a factor that I believed Jalen Hurts was a terrible quarterback. It wasn't from a place where I thought Jalen Hurts can't play in this league. Jalen Hurts can't ball. He can't do this. He can't do X, Y, and Z. No, that was nowhere near the face of the criticisms that I had about Jalen Hurts, because I've seen Jalen Hurts at his best. I've seen him in the 2022 season go out there and be an MVP candidate, finish top 3 in the MVP voting, and go through the playoffs, continue to dominate throughout the entire 2022 season, and you get the Super Bowl 57, you outduel Pat Mahomes, play one of the best games of your entire career on the biggest stage in front of the biggest audience possible, and you went toe-to-toe with the best quarterback in the NFL. Granted, you ended up losing that game, but it wasn't entirely your fault, even though people point out that his fumble was the changing course of the entire game, which, that's what they used to pin the blame on Jalen Hurts and continued to ignore that he played the best game of his possible life in that game. So we witnessed greatness many times there with Jalen Hurts in the 2022 season, and obviously in 2021, where they started off slow, found a way to rebound and get all those wins at the end of the year to squeak into the final wildcard spot. There were some really good showcasings there from Jalen Hurts, and it continued on into that 2022 season. And we were thinking we were seeing the same in 2023, especially when you go out to a 10-1 start. But it definitely was a little bit weird because Jalen Hurts was turning the ball over a lot more than we were used to seeing, because 2022, 2021, basically ever since Jalen Hurts came into the league, he was a person that knew how to protect the football, doesn't turn it over, doesn't fumble it a lot. He finds a way to keep possession with the offense, and that's what was his major strong suits were in his first couple of seasons in the NFL. And then for some reason in 2023, it was just completely different. He was throwing interceptions left and right. He just couldn't keep the ball in the possession of the Eagles. Everything about 2023 was just insanely weird. It really was. Even when you go up 10, start 10-1, and obviously when you start 10-1, you're going to back the team because you're starting 10-1. They're finding ways to win. There's a recipe to the madness. But then everything started to collapse there, and then we had a lot of question marks going throughout that rest of the season into the offseason. You see all the articles talking about, the relationships between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and everything, where it brings a lot of criticism and a lot of things that were warranted, because a lot of things we're talking about Jalen Hurts' attitude, his leadership, the way that he changed his personality after signing the big-time contract. So there were a lot of things there that I think people here in the Philadelphia area were right to criticize for and were right to have some questions for. But I do think, in a sane person's mind, it was more in the fact that everybody believed that Jalen Hurts had the ability to be a great quarterback, and there was just, for some reason it just wasn't showcasing itself in 2023 and also in the early stages of 2024, because the first 4 weeks of the season definitely weren't the prettiest showcasings from Jalen Hurts, turning the ball over once again, just erratically. And, it wasn't pretty. The team just did not look right. It did not mesh well. And the criticisms were fair. But then everything clicked after the bye week, during the bye week, whatever you want to call it, whatever discussions that Jalen Hurts had with Nick Sirianni, same thing with the offensive line, and ways to get this offense rolling, to get this offense churning, to get it rolling the right way. And Jalen Hurts basically doing whatever it takes to make sure that this team is in the best possible position to win. And that deserves to go a lot of credit on the quarterback, because I feel like a lot of players, especially players that are making a lot of money in this league, players that are supposed to be the face of the franchise, they wouldn't take many sacrifices. They would okay, I got to do this. I got to play hero ball. I got to find a way to put myself in the best position to help this team out, blah, 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 blah. Jalen Hurts doesn't really look at it like that. He will do anything possible in terms of finding ways to win, because the dude is so obsessed with winning. He'll take a day where he throws for maybe less than 200 yards, maybe has about, 10, 15 completions, but the result is a W. He'll take that any day over having 35 plus completions, 300 plus yards, 2, 3 touchdowns in the air, but the result is a loss. He'll take that any day of the goddamn week, because that's how much this dude is wired and just is so obsessed with winning. It's kind of sick, honestly, if you think about it, because this dude is a kind of a psychopath, especially with the way this entire team has been thinking and the way their mentality has been rolling ever since winning Super Bowl 59. Everybody, you go from Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown to Devontae Smith to Saquon Barkley, basically the entirety of the team and the franchise is just like not satisfied, ready to push into next year. Let's be back here. We're going to come back. We're going to come back and win this thing again and again and again and again and again and again. They're psychopaths. They're psychopaths, and honest to God, I love it, because I feel like that's what you want your team to be wired like. You can't be satisfied with just winning one Super Bowl. You want to constantly get back there to complete and achieve the ultimate goals season after season after season, and I do think that this franchise and the way that Howie Roseman has put this franchise in, they are 100% capable of constantly going back to the Super Bowl, putting themselves in positions to get the NFC Championship games, maybe even host NFC Championship games. You get to the big dance in the Super Bowl, and possibility of winning multiple Super Bowls as the foreseeable future continues. I can definitely see that under Jalen Hurts, under Nick Sirianni, with a lot of these players that are basically just hitting the prime of their careers. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley coming off of a historical season. You still got some gas left in the tank of Lane Johnson, this offensive line, and how dynamic it is, and the way that Vic Fangio led this defense. There's so many young faces in this defense, and granted, you might lose some faces in that defense, but Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, you don't know what's going to happen with Zach Bond. I hope to the God that Howie Roseman finds a way to keep him, but Howie Roseman is going to find a way to plug in players, find guys in the trade market, the free agency market, hell, even the draft, with the way that he's been drafting lately, and they'll come in and they will be instant contributors, because that's the way that this team has been ran. That's the way that the impact and the culture of this team is just continuing to flourish, where you can find a guy in the 6th round and they're finding ways to contribute in the minimal snaps that they do get, and maybe a year or two down the line, they're a starter, and they're a major impact on your team, whether it's offensively or defensively. This team is wired in a whole different way than most teams are ran in the National Football League, and that is very fun to see, and that's why so many of us are confident that this Eagles team can find a way to win more Super Bowls down the line, especially when you're talking about next year, the year after. Could the Eagles team, could they form their own version of a dynasty? It's definitely possible, and I believe that they can, especially when you have a quarterback that is as mentally wired and so obsessed with winning as Jalen Hurts is. I think anything is possible there at the end of the day. It really is. And like I said, when I go back to the criticism of Jalen Hurts, I knew that there was greatness in this guy, especially after what I saw in 2022 during that season of his MVP campaign. He was also an MVP candidate halfway through last year, going through the 10-1 start. And then, like I said, with the way that the season started off, very sloppy, very weird, the criticism was warranted. But then you saw as the weeks progressed, you saw as this team got better and better and better and better and better, and Jalen Hurts definitely being a major factor in that, the team just didn't stop winning. The team just did anything possible it took to win games. And yes, not everything was solely on Jalen Hurts. Saquon Barkley, historical season, all of that stuff. The defense, absolutely spectacular, even with the passing game not being up to the standards that we expect. The passing game, definitely stepped up when we called it out. You saw the game against Pittsburgh. You saw many other games in the playoffs, especially after that. And Jalen Hurts saved his 2 best games of the entire season for the final 2 games of the season, with the NFC Championship game and for the Super Bowl. And that's what you want to see your quarterback do. step up when the time matters. Step up when the lights are shining down bright. In the two biggest stages possible. NFC Championship game at the Link against a division rival that everybody was, Jaden Daniels and all that stuff. Oh, watch out for Washington. They were, they're finding ways, man. Jaden Daniels is a special talent. Jalen Hurts, the Eagles, Saquon Barkley, completely waxed the ass of them, scoring 55 points, most points in an NFC Championship game in history. Oh, Super Bowl, Kansas City Chiefs, looking to three-peat. Eagles probably got no chance. Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the world. This Chiefs team, Spags, they're unstoppable. Eagles whooped their ass as well. Completely shut them down. Spags went all out to try and stop Saquon Barkley, and to the credit of Spags and the Kansas City Chiefs defense, they did. They definitely limited Saquon Barkley, but in that process, when you're trying to limit Saquon Barkley, you are saying straight to the face of Jalen Hurts, I dare you. We're going to go all out. We're going to stop Saquon, and I dare you, with the ball in your hands, go out there and win the game. And here's the kicker. Jalen Hurts has done that to Spags twice in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 57, unstoppable. And Super Bowl 59, managed the game perfectly. Jalen Hurts did. Made the throws when he had to make throws. Hit the wide open guys. Made beautiful plays happen when it needed to. Destroyed the Chiefs with his own legs. Put up 72 plus rushing yards himself when Saquon got shut down. He did it to Spags twice. A guy that is supposed to be a guru for his defenses stepping up on the biggest stages possible, especially with his blitz packages, especially, just everything to do with Spags. Jalen Hurts has found a way to completely and utterly destroy his defenses twice on the biggest stage possible. If that doesn't show the greatness that is Jalen Hurts, I have no idea what is. When the defense constantly was giving Jalen opportunities, the Eagles defense that is, to have the ball, keep the possession with the offense, and finding ways to go down and score. And yes, the defense did do their major part as well. That is not going forgotten. But when your quarterback gets the opportunities, especially when your defense forces turnovers, when your defense get you good field range and everything there, your quarterback has to take advantage of it. And Jalen Hurts 100% took advantage of every single opportunity that he got in Super Bowl 59. It's greatness. It is greatness. And Jalen Hurts, a lot of people have been going back and forth, especially on the social media verse, about where does Jalen Hurts rank in, the top quarterbacks in the league at this point. Whether he's top 5, whether he's top 3, whether he's top 2. Personally, at this point, when you're putting up with the great quarterbacks in the National Football League, obviously you got Pat Mahomes, you got Josh Allen, you got Lamar Jackson, you got Joe Burrow, yada, 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 all that stuff. Jalen Hurts, and for as great as Josh Allen is, as great as Lamar Jackson is, as great as Joe Burrow is, and Joe Burrow, between him, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen, Joe Burrow is the only person in the AFC that has managed to beat Pat Mahomes in order to go to a Super Bowl. He is the only person to beat him in an AFC championship game. Josh Allen has never been able to beat Pat Mahomes in a playoff game. Neither has Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is a known playoff choker for as great as he is. Josh Allen just can't beat the Chiefs in the playoffs because they see the Chiefs in the playoffs every single year. Joe Burrow, yeah, he's faced Pat Mahomes a couple of times. Beat him once, lost to him twice. So that's what Joe Burrow has over Josh Allen and over Lamar Jackson. Jalen Hurts has done more, way more, than any of those three combined. Personally. Yeah, he has to face Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Granted, you don't have to go through Pat Mahomes in the NFC. So, yeah, there's definitely arguments valued towards there. But when you get to the ultimate game, when you have a chance to cement yourself in NFL history, Jalen Hurts did something that Josh Allen couldn't have done, that Lamar Jackson couldn't do, that Joe Burrow couldn't do. And it's a little different for Joe Burrow because he did beat Pat Mahomes. In the Joe Burrow case, it's terms winning a Super Bowl when you get your chance. Jalen Hurts did that. Jalen Hurts did compare to Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. He embarrassed Pat Mahomes. He completely embarrassed Pat Mahomes. Jalen Hurts did. Both times that he went up against Pat Mahomes, he outdueled him twice. He was the best quarterback on the field in Super Bowl 57 and in Super Bowl 59. There was no contest. It was not. Jalen Hurts was the best quarterback on either side for both Super Bowls that he has appeared in against Pat Mahomes. Josh Allen can attest to that, and any playoff game that he's played against the Kansas City Chiefs, and the same thing with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. You just can't. And people want to go with the regular season with those two quarterbacks, blah, 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 blah. When push comes to shove, and when the lights shine bright, and when you need your quarterback to step up and win you a big game, I'm taking Jalen Hurts. I'm taking Jalen Hurts over Lamar Jackson. I'm taking Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen. I'm taking Jalen Hurts over Joe Burrow. Personally, because Jalen Hurts has done something those quarterbacks have not done, and that's hoist the Lombardi. That's basically it. They managed to take down Pat Mahomes. And yes, Joe Burrow can attest to that. He's taken down Pat Mahomes, but he hasn't lifted a Lombardi. Jalen Hurts has that over Joe Burrow. So, there's some things there. And I do have some stats here that I've been browsing through the Twitterverse as well, just looking at over many things here. And here's a picture right here on Twitter that shows some stats from Jalen Hurts. This is the Real Talk with MJ podcast on Twitter. Over the past 2 years, Jalen Hurts is 5-0 against Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes combined. Hurts' stats against the Big Four: 18 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a 31 points per game average, and a 100 passer rating. I think that just explains itself. It really does. Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback, and when he goes up against the greatest in the league, so call it, he steps up his game even more. And that cannot go underestimated. But people continue to underestimate it for some reason. I have no idea why. It doesn't make sense. But people just love to hate. I think that's the thing. They can't accept when someone that they hate has so much success. And when they find success, these people just cope and cope and cope and cope. They try to find these stats that are just meaningless. Find ways to bring down the factor of Jalen Hurts. Oh, he was carried by his wide receivers. Oh, he was carried by his offensive line. Oh, he was carried by Saquon. He was carried by his defense. Any other quarterback would find success in this Eagles organization if they had all these weapons surrounding Jalen Hurts. Blah, 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 blah. Well, here's a little bit of a shocker to all you people that say that. Yeah, you need elite teams to win Super Bowls. No shit. No shit. You need elite teams to win Super Bowls. You need a fantastic wideout, maybe 2 fantastic wideouts. You need to play good within the trenches with your offensive line and defensive line that can get to a quarterback. You need good linebacker play. You need good secondary play. You need good from your cornerbacks. You need good from your safety. You need good at every single position in order to win you a championship. You can't just solely rely on the quarterback to go out there and win games. Because a quarterback with some aspects can only be as good as the team that is surrounding him. Tom Brady is probably the only person that I can think of in NFL history that can find a way to maybe elevate a team that probably wasn't as good as, some of the players that weren't as good. But Tom Brady also had fantastic weapons as well. Pat Mahomes, he had fantastic weapons too when he's winning Super Bowls. Now, granted, yes, the Chiefs' wide receiver core has not been the best in the past couple of seasons, but their defense has been dynamic. Travis Kelce, before him starting this deep decline, still fantastic stuff there. You need elite talent. You do. You need it everywhere. So no shit, another quarterback that comes into the system probably would fucking succeed. But Jalen Hurts, he finds a way to still be great in that factor because he elevates his game. He does things. He has intangibles that also makes this team great. You see the way, because you can also throw into a factor of him and Saquon Barkley. Maybe Saquon Barkley doesn't have, and I'm not trying to diminish Saquon Barkley at any state here because Saquon Barkley's season was fantastic. Think about this. Everyone says that Jalen Hurts struggles to read defenses. Everyone says Jalen Hurts cannot read a defense on the other side of the field. What has Jalen Hurts been doing this entire season to help Saquon Barkley out? He checks at the line of scrimmage. He changes the play. He sees something in the defense that maybe is a hole, that maybe is a weakness that can help with this offensive line and that Saquon and the offensive line can take advantage of. He checks to that play. And a lot of those times, it's during plays when Saquon Barkley takes it a long run to the house. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, they work perfectly together. One elevates the other. Why does it always have to be, if I would rather take Saquon Barkley on this team over Jalen Hurts. I'd rather this and that and X, Y, and Z and all that stuff. Why can't it be both? Why can't it be both? Why can't both players elevate each other? Saquon Barkley brings out the best in Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts helps bring out the best in Saquon Barkley. Why does it always got to be like one or the other? I just don't get it. I just don't get it. If you had to choose between Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley in this offense, who would you rather choose? And I hear so many people choose Saquon Barkley. And like I said, I'm not trying to diminish Saquon here because Saquon was beautiful. Saquon was brilliant. Saquon was historical. Jalen Hurts had a lot of factor into that. It's just evident. It's just completely obvious. Jalen Hurts deserves so much respect. Saquon deserves so much appreciation as well. But Jalen Hurts does not get near as much as love as Saquon does. And like I said, I'm not trying to diminish everything. I'm going to keep saying that because people are going to try to call me out saying, you're trying to diminish Saquon Barkley, blah, 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 blah. No. I just want to show appreciation to a quarterback that is getting so much disrespect in this league for no other reason in the world. Because he's a great quarterback. So crazy at this point. It really is. And this goes to a video that was surfacing on Twitter from CBS Sports from Pete Prisco. And it's a completely embarrassing sequence of a video right here. It really is. And it's really just, over the next 5 years, who are you choosing? Would you rather have these quarterbacks over Jalen Hurts? And Pete Prisco, Jesus Christ, the disrespect, man. It is crazy. It is insane here. So let's get to Pete Prisco on this embarrassing take.
To me, that's easy. That's Jaden Daniels. And that's no slight of Jalen Hurts. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be special. C.J. Stroud, based on the rookie season, I thought there were a lot of things working against him last year, but I'd still take C.J. Stroud. I would take Justin Herbert. I'm big on Justin Herbert, but that's pretty close, to be honest with you. This one's really close. Can I call it even? How about that? Because I think Jalen Hurts has made big improvement. I thought Trevor Lawrence went in the wrong direction last year, so I'll call that even. I would take Jalen Hurts right now. I think Caleb Williams has a chance to move past him, but right now, the way Jalen Hurts is playing, I would take Jalen Hurts. I would take Jalen Hurts. I think his ability to throw the football, move, run, everything, I would take Jalen Hurts. I would take Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott's one of the more underappreciated players in the NFL. Let's not forget he led the NFL in touchdown passes 2 years ago. It's close, but I would take Baker Mayfield. I'm big on Baker Mayfield. I thought he had a great year. And let's not forget, Baker Mayfield was pretty darn good with the Browns his rookie season, got hurt, and then kind of has rejuvenated his career. So I take Baker Mayfield.
So your argument for Baker Mayfield was that he was good in his rookie season in Cleveland. And yes, Baker Mayfield has revived his career in Tampa. Baker Mayfield's not as good as Jalen Hurts. For the list, yeah, Jaden Daniels is going to be a special quarterback for years to come in the National Football League. Now, in the stage of his career, no, he's not better than Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts proved that time and again in the 3 matchups that he had against Washington. Jalen Hurts is better than C.J. Stroud. That's evident. Jalen Hurts is far better than Justin Herbert. My God. And I used to be a Justin Herbert guy, but this man cannot win when he gets to the playoffs. And maybe that's just a Charger thing, because, the Chargers Charger, like the same thing you say with like other teams in sports world, the Mets Met and all that crap. It kind of goes, similar ways. But Jalen Hurts is 100% a better quarterback, 100,000% better quarterback than Justin Herbert. He called Trevor Lawrence even. He said Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts are even. What has Trevor Lawrence done? What has Trevor Lawrence done? He's had one successful season out of the many years that he has been a quarterback in this league. One successful year. And you're going to say that's even with Jalen Hurts when Jalen Hurts has multiple 10-win seasons under his belt and has been to multiple Super Bowls and has won a Super Bowl MVP? Ha! Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. Obviously, yes, you take Jalen Hurts over Caleb Williams. Tua, obviously, you take Jalen Hurts over Tua, he's right there. He says he takes Dak over Jalen Hurts. Mike, what has Dak done? What has Dak done? Dak Prescott is so delusional. He says that the Cowboys are neck and neck with the Eagles. He says the Cowboys can compete with the Eagles, blah, 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 blah. No, they can't. No, they can't. It's so bad to where you have Skip Bayless, who is a notorious Cowboys fan, saying that. What the fuck are you even saying there, Dak? Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And then he says Baker Mayfield over Jalen Hurts. It's fucking insane. It really is. My God. My God, it's unreal. It really is. So, let's go to the Anytime Hotline here. Because the more that I think about it, the more I look at all this stuff, it'll annoy me. It really will. So, let's get to Sean. Let's get to Sean. What does he have to say in order of appreciating Jalen Hurts?
So this is an interesting subject because we know that the national media, no matter what Jalen Hurts does, is never going to give the guys his flowers. So let's get that out of the way early. So my thoughts are these. Call it bias, if you will. Call it delusional, but I'm just going to say it straight. I think Jalen Hurts is the second best quarterback in the NFL right now. I would elevate him above Josh Allen, above Lamar Jackson, above Joe Burrow, etc., only behind Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Jalen Hurts has taken his team to 2 Super Bowls. He should have won both of them, and he should have been the MVP of both of them. Josh Allen hasn't done that. Lamar Jackson hasn't done that. And Burrow got his team there but couldn't finish. The Eagles did what the entire AFC is unable to do. They basically took out the trash, put belt to ass, and beat the Chiefs for them. I mean, you've got to start giving this guy his props. I don't want to hear even about guys like Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott and Jaden Daniels. Bullshit. Jalen Hurts, to me, is the number 2 quarterback in the NFL. He has the history, if you will, of playing in 2 Super Bowls, the biggest games he's going to play in, and he balled out both times, and now he has a ring. That speaks volumes to me. He may not do it in an artistic way or the way that other quarterbacks may do it, but the guy wins. That's the bottom line. That's good enough for me.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I wouldn't say it any less. I wouldn't say it any less. Oh, man. I can agree with that. I can agree with Jalen Hurts being the second best quarterback in the NFL. You know what? One other thing as well, when you go back to the Josh Allen thing. What was the one thing that was plaguing Josh Allen for so many years? He turns the ball over too much. Turns the ball over way too much. And what's the one thing that Josh Allen did this season, which basically was one of the reasons why he won an MVP, even though I still don't agree with it. I think Lamar Jackson should have won MVP. He turned the ball over less. Turned the ball over the least that he's ever done in his entire career. He got so much praise for it. Jalen Hurts does that in his sleep. Jalen Hurts is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in terms of protecting the football. He's proved that time and time again. 2023, if the way that we continue here and the way that we expect this Eagles team to continue to find success and possibly win more Super Bowls, Jalen Hurts and him not turning over the football, him protecting the football, him keeping the football in the possession of the offense, why doesn't anybody praise Jalen Hurts for that? But Josh Allen got so much praise for it. Jalen Hurts, like I said, he does it in his sleep. Protecting the football, that is. Because you know why? Because Jalen Hurts is great. Jalen Hurts is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and it's time for people to start respecting it. But they never will. They never will. So that'll do it for today, everybody. I appreciate you tuning in as always. Went a little longer here today, but, I think that's optimal time for respecting our QB1. So don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It does me a huge deal of service with the YouTube algorithm. Also use the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. Great deal. Don't pass it up. You can also use the code TTPSports. Not the code. You can follow TTP Sports on TikTok and Instagram for all that good stuff there. I am planning on having another pod later this week as we are moving closer and closer to baseball season. I think it'll be around Friday or something like that because the first spring training games actually start Saturday for the Phillies. So definitely some time to get some Phillies talking here. So you'll see that pop up in your subscription feed. I'm not sure if that's going to be a live stream or not. So you'll see something pop up. So appreciate you guys for tuning in today. I'll see you next time.